I want to start off saying I still feel like I need to apologize last time for being like, oh no, we don't got time for the videos. Don't play the videos, please, please. I'm glad you did. I'm sorry. I was just so worried about time and everything was going so well. I just wanted like as much time as I could possibly squeeze out of the half an hour.
I'm so proud of what we tried so hard to get Australia right. Like I was like, you don't want to watch the videos? Come on, man.
And you did. And I wanted to go and experience it myself. The videos were amazing. I also liked going and jumping in and looking around for things I wanted personally, which is, so yes, sorry for that. I definitely put my foot like as far into my mouth and down my throat as humanly possible. But you were so nice and you didn't even care, which was great. And you also almost let slip cloud stuff. But you couldn't then, and you definitely can now. So yes. you were almost talking about it with me. I don't think I was. I think your media trading held. I don't think there was ever anywhere that you were actually going to slip. But we started talking about cloud, and I would love to continue that conversation now. I guess the big news first, if you don't mind, we'll get it straight from the source.
Yeah, I mean, Microsoft Flight Simulator is now running on Xbox Cloud streaming. Not xCloud, Xbox Cloud streaming, and it's awesome. I mean, like ever since we launched on PC, and then the next thing we heard from the fans was like, why is it not on Xbox? And we put it on Xbox Series S and X, and they said, why is it not on Xbox One? That's been pretty consistent, and we heard that loud and clear. So this is now working, and it's working really great. And it's not just that, as you can imagine. I don't know if you played around with Xbox Cloud streaming, but it's freaking amazing. I mean, I don't know if you checked this out yet, but I'm gonna go to Australia because we can.
And you should really, for the purposes of this interview, at least.
Where else would you go anyway? So what's awesome about it? So this is basically the build, sitting on Xbox hardware in the cloud.
Nice.
And it's mind blowing. It literally blows your mind. If you work on computer games like me for like 30 years, I'll tell you why I think it's such a big deal, right? I mean, it's super convenient. Well, still loading a little bit, but if you compare that with how long it takes to
oh, you're flying like me, just straight down, just
I can't see. I'm trying to get speed, but I mean, it is shocking. Like it's running 1080p, 30 frames a second, and what I love about it is it's almost instantaneous. I mean, it's basically typically we go to our servers, pull down the build, fire up the Xbox or your PC, fumble around, and it takes a while to actually get going here. It takes 15 seconds to get this on the server, and then it takes you, in my case here anyway, it's about like 20-30 seconds to get the build, and you're playing. And I cannot, like, as a game developer guy, like, I cannot tell you how much that changes our life. Like, if a dev, for example, says, hey, we did the private server update for Reno, can you check it out? I'm like, hold on, click, and I'm playing. 20 seconds later in the same conversation. That has never, ever happened to me before in my entire career. So I think this is super good for gamers. Super good, like, because it democratizes what we have, really. But all of a sudden, I have a stack of old laptops over there, like literally going back, because I'm a pack rat, like 20 years probably or something, and they really just collected dust, but they work. Yeah. Like I now have, like, these are viable streaming machines. I'm like, wow, okay. I was always trying to figure out, like, how am I going to get rid of these things and who am I going to give them to, but now actually going to do stuff with them again. So that's cool. The Xbox thing is super cool, but like I do think, and then look, it's just the beginning of the devices and where it's going, right? Like there's all kinds of other devices that you could get to. Lower end PC are cool, but there's all kinds of other things that you could get to, right? Down the road. And I think it's gonna. When Phil sometimes talks about the 3 billion gamers, and I was like, 3 billion gamers? That's a lot of gamers. And then you say, well, the only way to get to 3 billion gamers is to go on a phone. But there is no flight sim the way we made it on a phone, right? You can't do a native app like this. It's now 200 gigabyte, I mean, there's no way. But cloud streaming actually makes it possible. So I'm now looking at people in regions of the earth that might never had an Xbox, or they don't have socioeconomic circumstances to buy yourself a powerful PC, and they can now, you know, they can now participate in that dream of flight that I'm so excited about. So I think it's shockingly good. That's all I'm really saying. Like it's shockingly good. It was shockingly easy. Some people ask me, like, so how was it to work with a with a Xbox cloud streaming team? I would just say brief. Brief is the word. Because so typically back in the day, we did a port, and it was like 20 artists and then a bunch of programmers. The artists whittled down the art. The programmers are trying to squeeze some more stuff out of the. And here we had one dude, one dev, and half of an artist for a few months, and that's it.
Oh,
and
wow.
the only thing they did, because we have the world updates, as you know, right? So we launched with, I think it was 120 gigs or something, and since then we've added probably 70 with stuff, and then we also have third-party store marketplace, right, which has 1,000 gig already. It's 1,000 gig. So there's no, I mean, back in the day, we did this thing, like the physical edition, we'd be like, hey, can we get the 100 gig on some discs? And we made like 10 discs, and, there's no way, as we keep going and making the world more and more detailed and adding more and more planes, that you can do this on a physical medium. It's just not going to happen. And streaming that, so I can now, we've talked about this before, I can upload to nth degree of data. And we knew that we can manipulate the data with machine learning and all that, and we can stream it down. And now you can stream it down to any device. Shit hot. Like there's, I mean, it still blows my mind how this stuff works. It's amazing.
Well,
and the space.
And like it will always live. Microsoft Flight Sim will always live on my PC. But like I've got the terabyte expansion card on my Series X, and it's like I'm always juggling. So I'm really sorry to say that Flight Sim didn't last long because I can play it on my PC. But now I can just stream it from the cloud if I'm desperate to play it on my console as opposed to the PC, or I could jump on my phone. So it's a win-win for everybody.
In my house, it goes like this, right? I have my work PC and I have my full setup, right? Like, and then I go downstairs, where big TV and consoles, but I already have to contend for that space, right? There's other people that want to watch TV and they look at me funny when I say I want to do stuff, and I always had to choose between my family and gaming. Really, because they don't, especially a single player game, they're like, what are you doing? Like, we want to watch something. But I now can sit there, I can play some stuff, I can really just explore the world while I'm with them, because I can just stream it to my phone. Yeah. That's cool, or a tablet. So I think it changes the dynamics a little bit.
So I guess the question that I have that immediately comes to mind is that I have the flight sticks and stuff. They're generally in the closet. That gets just a lot of my setup is very specific, and it takes a lot of effort to try to incorporate new stuff. So I'm more of the use your Xbox controller for most flight things and have the keyboard at hand for the stuff I can't figure out how to do on the controller. That's just far easier, like this hybrid approach that I don't know if this is officially supported in your mind, or but anyway, how does that translate to xCloud if you're, I guess, limited to a controller, if that makes sense?
Yeah, so I would say that's the current state of affairs. Like so it's interesting, because we support Xbox Series X and S natively, right? And they actually, I think you know this, but they have mouse keyboard support. And it's a little strange, right? I mean, literally downstairs on my whatever TV table, I have mouse and keyboard sitting there. It's got, interesting. But with cloud streaming, I mean, it basically it does support. I mean, right now you're right. It's basically dual stick. They have support for touch, which we haven't quite done yet, but we will. And then they are planning on doing more devices, because it's just Bluetooth. Yeah. You can hook up anything, right? So I'm already feebing to get them to have mouse keyboard support, because then it becomes like when I said that earlier about my old laptops and stuff. You can actually use a Bluetooth device on those. It's a little funky. The older the device, the more funky it gets, quite frankly. But now, once they support mouse keyboard natively, which I don't think is going to be that far off. Like, I have no idea about their exact timelines or something, but I'll be the first customer. I can tell you that. And then, I mean, I'm constantly in their ear saying, hey, we have flight sticks, folks. We need to support these things. And, they're all like, I think Flight Sim is sort of a pretty a reasonably big deal nowadays, right? So they do listen, which is nice.
I like that you address touch. I would be very interested to see how touch works. I would also just love to try it. It's like, it'd be fun. I would definitely give it a go.
Yeah,
Um,
it's touch and gyro. I think it's super cool. But
oh,
that's the thing that I'm after, right? Like the moment I can do this and just tilt, that's cool because that's how it fundamentally it changes the stick behavior a little bit. So I can just go forget about the stick pushing down or flaps or something. I can just do this and then touch. I think it'll work. Like so, we're experimenting with it right now. Uh, the most complex thing is what you actually said. If I there are some flight, and you go to the flight computer and you actually type in your destination stuff, your flight plan.
yeah.
That with touch, you need to just zoom in, right? And there's going to be custom layouts per situation, right? And that's how I think it'll actually work.
Nice. That sounds like that maybe is going to be the most involved that you'll need to be. Like instead of just the one developer and half an artist, you might have to
It's an
put some.
over it's an overlay system
Oh,
actually.
okay.
It's
Oh,
quite cool, like what they've done. Like so you can easily what's pretty easy is like click 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 and you just do menu stuff. It's easy as dirt. But if you go in a cockpit, you have to consider that you have moving cameras that actually look at a thing, and then for that you need another overlay. But it's aware of it, right? It's called what's cloud aware.
okay.
So cloud aware helps us a lot. I mean, maybe I should have spoken to that because the other thing that's important, as I said, we are like at 200 something gigs now. And we want the time to fun needs to be really short. Like it's a yeah, certainly on mobile device. You don't want to sit there and load something and it takes 5 minutes. You're like, okay, I'm doing something else, right? So we said within like 30 seconds we need to get going.
Yeah.
So what we're doing is World Update 1 through 6. We just made a decision. You know what? If anybody plays on cloud streaming, it automatically is you have the entitlement and it's already downloaded. So you don't have to do anything. You don't have to go to the content manager. You don't have to install this thing. You just go. And I think we're going to keep updating that. Like so, anytime you go into the cloud, we get as much data to you natively as we possibly can. And that the other thing that's interesting is there's this called PLS. I don't know if you know if you ever heard of that thing. So it's basically I think it's the private private. Yeah, it's basically your local save. Local save. That's what it is. Private local save.
Perfect.
Perfect. You have like I think it's 50 gig or something, and you can download all your stuff. Like if you bought some planes in the marketplace or something, or you have specific things that you like Reno, it automatically gets downloaded in every session. So you don't have to relog in and get all that stuff again. It's actually quite nice.
That's exactly what I was thinking about asking. So like third party store content. Like if I've gone and bought, I don't know, the Sydney Harbour Bridge just for just having something to think about, is that tied to the PLS? So like when you start the cloud game and you get the little Xbox overlay with the little, like percentage, like getting your save into this device, like all that's kind of stored within and that's how it knows to load it for you.
Yeah,
Roughly?
exactly. It depends how much stuff you have, right? It's just like on a PC. At some point, you run out of space, right? At some point, however many terabytes you plugged onto your machine, right? But you can fill up the PLS, and then if you have like, for example, Australia update, and you want to have that, you download it once, and then it sits in your PLS unless you delete it. So you will never have to load the Sydney Harbour Bridge again and do anything special, right? You just made the decision, I want this. And that's actually how most of the simmers really sim, right? A lot of them, some of them explore the world. It's actually kind of interesting. Like some of the core simmers are always flying the same routes. Like that's what they do, right? I know a guy who literally flies every single day the same route to Corsica. That's what he does. It's his hobby. Not judging, and so he doesn't care about anything else. He's like, I don't want anything else. But when you have Corsica new, any airport, anything in Corsica, he's going to download it.
Yeah.
And that's the world he wants to create for himself. And that is completely enabled, which I think is cool, customizable.
It's very. Now I'm going to call it xCloud because it's always going to be xCloud to me. But Xbox Cloud Streaming. My apologies. But anyway, paraphrasing Phil, he's kind of always led the charge that like this is here if you want to use it, and you're welcome to use it. But for right now at least, nothing really replaces the console connected to your TV in front of you. Like the latency is just a little bit better if your internet's not the best. Like it's probably arguably the best experience that you can have.
Yeah, there's no doubt.
do you have similar kind of thoughts? Like, is there still like a best experience for flight sim, and is it PC? I'm just totally leading the question here.
The best experience on flight sim, it's always going to be the most powerful hardware with the most diverse equipment. Like with as far as I mean, that is just the truth, right?
Yeah.
I guess I think about it a little bit differently, right? I get a bunch of emails from people, right, from all over the world. And for example, Brazil is one of those places. It's fascinating, right? There's a whole ton of gamers. It's a huge country, first off, whole ton of gamers. The consoles there have been, there's like a tax thing or something. They're extraordinarily expensive, like well over $1,000 in our money at least. And most people can't afford that, but they do want to play. And they also don't have a history of like super powerful PCs. So I mean, more than anybody else, I would say, they said, hey, when is this coming to Xbox One? What's going on? Because that Xbox One is now in the affordable range for a bunch of people. Cool. And then they obviously have lower spec PCs and also mobile devices, that's why I think of it as a democratization, right? There are places on this planet that are very well off and people have all kinds of stuff and all money and da-da-da. And then there's people that are not. And why is the dream of flight blocked from them? Like, why is that? It's a very broad dream of mankind, I think. And I think this really helps it. As far as what you asked me, the actual question, so I'll answer the question. I mean, it's not running in 4K, right? It's not running at 60 frames a second. All that comes from, what I think of the fat client. Let's call it that, fat client.
Yeah.
So if you are that much of a connoisseur of 4K on gigantic TVs, more power to you, right? I mean, I have an 85-inch TV, right? I'm one of those.
I want one. My husband won't let me get one. I'm in your camp. Sorry to interrupt.
The way issues, but yeah, I got it. So that's, to me, that's probably the most impressive. It's the most movie-like experience. But I have to tell you, like, and I'm not saying this because it's so unexpected. Right, which is what I'm saying. I was like, really, flight sim on the phone, really, seeing is believing. And the interesting thing about it, with this, right, when I go this way,
yeah,
right, somewhere over the ocean, you actually adjust your viewport. It's just like, nobody walks up straight to their gigantic TV and sees a few pixels, right? But the field of view that is eaten up by the display is actually quite similar. So it's like, that's interesting. So it's I don't see the text worse. I don't see less of the screen. I'm just like, maybe I'm half blind. That's possible, but it does do something. It has done something to me. I have flown more the last 2 weeks than in any given 2-week interval before.
Yeah.
Why? It's because I can do it so quickly. That is why. Like, it's because obviously I get different development builds and stuff, right? So development builds, they always take a long time to really prop on your machine and all this stuff. So, but access matters. And I think this. Maybe I should tell you that story. Our development has changed. The way our test team is sending builds to us is now through this. Or when I think about the creator community, right? The creator community, like for example, we did Australia, right? And I got emails from like two of the creators in Australia, and they said, "Hey, Jörg, cool world update. However, it screwed my airport over because you changed the colors and blah 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 blah." And I was like, "Really? What build are you on? And where's the airport at? And blah blah blah." And it took so long to even converse. And now I'm convinced to say, "Hey, you know what? We found what screws you over. Is we need secondary aerials. We put up a build to a flight. Why don't you go check it, and then let me know if there's any further problems." Nice. And you can have that conversation in like 30 minutes. And before that, it took weeks of time to make a build, get it through certification, send it to someone and download it, right? It's so much faster. And, game quality comes from iteration. It's just, nobody has the brilliant idea and it's just the perfect game, and it doesn't work like that, right? So you make something and you try it and you try it again, and you make it better, and you listen to people and you make it better. So I think the interaction loop with the community is actually going to go a lot better. Like right now, I'll give you another example. I'm working on this thing. Which is a very cool, almost at the end of a 1-year-long journey about this plane. It's called the Doge, coming out, I think, in a few weeks, actually. And I've always struggled to get the plane in its current state to the people who actually know about the plane, which are like there's a group in Friedrichshafen, Germany that has that plane, and there's another group in Luzon, Argentina, and they have that. And in Argentina, I was like, hey, can you test this thing? Like the Plus Ultra, can you test it? And they're like, we don't have an Xbox. Okay, you have a PC? No. Okay, well, can I send you a video? But then they can't feel it.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, I think we're bringing more people into the development effort, and I think that's going to make things better.
Nice. Now, you've alluded to it a little bit, I think, already, but you were saying last time we spoke that you almost had a leg up when it came to xCloud because you were streaming already, and it's all about streaming, and you're sort of talking about it, but you couldn't fully give me the answer. So I would like to delve back down that path.
It's true. It's true because sometimes the what do they call? I don't know the saying. Need is the father of invention or something.
Necessity. I got
Necessity is the father of invention. So basically, the vision for Flight Sim ever since the beginning was have an awesome, realistic flight experience and make the planet as good as you can. Well, so that was always limited to some disk something, right? Or 10 disk or whatever the heck it is, right? And all of a sudden with the cloud, that exploded. That's gone. I can have infinite amount of data. Cool. Awesome. So because of that, we wanted that world to be that way. We put so much stuff up in the cloud early on, and you're right. But if I'm like a fantasy game maker or something, why the hell not? Like, why would I not make my world in the cloud? Like, what possible reason do I have? Because it was always, ever since I started in the game industry, like in the early 90s, I always felt it was weird that we have bits, we work on bits, we put them on a piece of plastic, we ship that piece of plastic through the planet, somebody else puts in the drive to basically get into bits again to start playing. It's like, well, that's stupid. I mean, that really is just a total waste of time, and it's environmentally bad too, by the way. But now it's really just, why wouldn't you have stuff in the cloud where you have the world's greatest computer? Like, why? I think but you have to trust it. I think that's the thing. Like, as a developer, at some point, it's always your livelihood, this, that, or the other, right? So you're a little bit conservative, typically, about what kind of tech quest you endeavor on, right? But maybe, I mean, if Flight Sim can help just people seeing it, it's totally possible. It doesn't cost much. It's actually quite effective, and it makes your development go better. I mean, but I think there's a little bit of maybe some hesitation out in the community. They need to really see, as I said, and I think it's completely fair. Seeing is believing.
Yeah. Does
it work? How well does it work? How hard is it for me to do it? Like, if I had to have a team of 10 working on some port for a year, well, who's going to pay for that? But now we had a team of one dev who also worked on some other stuff and one artist working on some other stuff. And that's okay. I think the cost benefit ratio is actually quite good.
Yeah. Oh, it's the future, man. It's the future.
I believe this is the future. I am totally converted to cloud. I mean, we went from cloud. We thought about cloud when we started. I mean, when I first started about this whole project, cloud was for storage. I didn't think cloud compute was a thing. I was like, yeah, whatever. But it does actually work. It does stuff. Streaming got better. And the more I look at this, now we're cloud aware, which means the device knows. You can upscale text and stuff. So it's cool. It's convenient. And as I keep going forward, as I'm thinking about Flight Sim and the digital twin we're making, you will hear me more and more. I will dump everything. I will make that client as thin as I can, because why not? It's to the benefit of everything.
Yeah,
even a lot more. Like the stuff that's actually sensitive to frame rate, that is what you want to do local. Everything else, no way. The world renderer, why?
Yeah.
Basically, make yourself an MPEG movie. Why not? It's an interactive MPEG movie.
And just pick my internet sometimes is spotty, so there's issues that we need to solve that aren't just going to be sitting on Microsoft's end, as an example.
No doubt.
But just even imagining, day one patch coming. It's like, well, I'm already playing, for the write up I'm doing on this review, and I got to wait and then download, the 20 gig, or I could just jump into a flight like you were kind of saying before with testing, and it's just there. Yeah, so I'm super excited about that.
It takes 2 minutes. You're like, I'm in. It's 2 minutes.
Exactly.
You get a coffee.
Exactly. We have a couple minutes left. I would be remiss if I didn't ask this question, and it's one of those really uncomfortable ones. With everything happening in Ukraine, obviously, I'm not sure if there's anything planned, but I'm thinking already, because, flight space has been shut down. are we seeing already in flight sim like things kind of reflecting in game, like you're not able to follow flight paths because they're not technically running right now? Is there anything kind of
That is
planned
true.
or anything
I
that's
think,
happening as a consequence?
uh, I mean, it's difficult to say. Like I can tell you that we're all very much feeling. We have team members from the Ukraine with families sitting there in the country. We have developers sitting there, so we are in contact when we can, and we're trying to support. And I'm actually, I have to work through how that best is structured and stuff. That this it's not as easy as one wants it to be, but I want to help. We want to help. Um, I mean, I think sometimes people they remember the Suez Canal ship, and they think that was real time in flight sim. It wasn't, right? That was a modder basically putting that ship there. I mean,
Yeah.
I literally had people say, "York, can you tell me where the tanks are?" I'm like, "What? No." Like that, there's no such thing. But it
Yeah.
is true that the airspace, because we're getting real time flight data, the airspace when it's closed, there are no planes. And this is just because we get the air. I mean, we don't make that data. It's FlightAware is that service that we're using.
Yeah.
And when that is, as it's happening, it's happening. There's actually nothing much I can do about that. Like it's just the service running. It's just like the weather. Like,
And it's more important, like you were saying, to focus on your team, and obviously not just your team. I'm sure we're all thinking of the people of Ukraine, not just the couple developers that are helping
yeah.
you on flight sim. But yeah, it's a certainly a complex situation, and I hope
We cried today, Steve. We cried today. Like not just for the people. We cried because the 225 has been destroyed. Right? It's like we've been talking to Antonov for a long time, right? Because they're Ukrainian, and that I don't know if you know that plane, but it's the world's biggest plane. Is gone.
that carried the Russian space shuttle,
Oh,
or am I thinking of a different one?
You can say it that way, but you can also say it actually carried corona vaccines to Africa because it's the largest transport plane in the world. And like,
That's a much better way to describe it.
it's a good plane. It was a proud thing for the country. It was like, oh my God. So yeah, we cried a little, not just a little.
Well, I always learn something about an airplane from you, and I'm glad if I picked up nothing else from today, I'm very glad I picked that up today.
It's called Mria. It's called Dream. That's what the plane is called. Look it up. AN225. And it's a wonder of technology, and it's destroyed. It's at the top of my status report that I write every Monday.
Oh. Well, I've just finished this up on a very somber note. And like, you know what? Sometimes it needs to. Is there anything you wanted to say before I let you go? I realize I'm almost taking up all of our time, and I don't want to monopolize your time. But
I want to, on the positive side, I think cloud streaming and the internet in general is a democratizing element throughout the world, and let's leave it with that.
Nice. I'm looking forward. I'm sure I'll talk to you again. I'm looking forward to getting into touch when it's ready.
Likewise, we have tons of cool stuff coming up this year, God willing. But yeah, let's talk again. Great interview. Very good questions, by the way.
It's always so much fun to talk to you.
It's so interesting. Like a lot of people don't get cloud yet, and I have to explain. Like, hey, no, here's what it does. It's like a pixel streamer. They're like, really? I'm like, really? It really works.
We were so desperate for it here, like in Australia. It's like, come on, let's have it. So it's good, and we've got it, and it's exciting, and it works now that I have NBN. Like I actually have decent internet, not a dial-up service. So like it actually works. So.
Let me know how you like it. I mean, I'm actually quite curious. Like I'm sitting here like, man. I mean, I'm a little bit. Look, I'm in Redmond. My internet's probably better than I don't know. But so far for me, anyways, it's been friggin' amazing. Literally a revelation of sorts of gaming and how you make stuff. But I'm very curious how is it everywhere, right? I can't visit. One day I'll visit Australia and maybe we will meet in person. Bella, maybe we'll meet in person. That'd be nice.
That would be excellent. It's always so much fun to talk to you. Thank you so much for your time, and have
thank you.
a wonderful rest of your day.